Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Fish. This is our ambitiously hopeful weekly series where we answer your questions on Discord. A lot of things changing behind the scenes. We are getting to weekly, I swear. So don't forget to join our Discord server if you got a question for a future episode. You guys had some juicy questions this time, so let's not mess about. So smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. If we get 10 likes, I will give Pringle some Costco rotisserie chicken from the community. And the like button actually really helps the channel by feeding the algorithm as well. Really helps out more than you might know. And with that, let's jump into your questions. Rusty M80M Arc asks, did you see Gojira's performance at the Olympic opening ceremony? As a follow-up, Socks asks to add on to Gojira's Olympic performance, Joe moving to ESP. Yes, dude, I watched it, and so did a televised audience of an estimated 1 billion people. That's fucking insane. What a moment for metal. And I'd forgotten the Olympics were even happening. I have been so out of the loop. Honestly, I feel like that was the case with pretty much all of the guitar circles that I'm in. Then all of a sudden my phone's blowing up and everyone's like, oh my god, did you just see the Olympics? Like, the f are you guys talking about the Olympics for? Oh, just that Gojira was gonna make history and become the first ever metal band to perform at the Olympic Games opening ceremony. That's all. Genuinely never saw this one coming. I love it. Actually made a short on this a few days ago that's picked up something like 700,000 views, which is just insane. But somehow, just in case you missed this entire thing, let's recap before I get into my thoughts, because from the guitar perspective, there's a lot to talk about besides just Joe moving to ESP. But basically, as with any Olympics opening ceremony, the purpose was to celebrate both the history of the games and the history of the host nation specifically. I'll be honest, pretty much the only part of the Olympics I've caught this year is Gojira's performance, but as a history nerd, it was awesome. Opens with a beheaded Marie Antoinette, the camera pans out, flames start flying, and you've got Gojira high on the side of the conciergerie, the prison where Marie Antoinette was held and condemned to death, performing a super heavy chugified rendition of ICYMI, which translates to, it'll be fine. And to all the native French speakers, I swear it's not intentional, I apologize in advance. I can speak Mandarin, but your language is fucking too hard. And all the while, Arno from Assassin's Creed Unity is looking on, embracing the epicness. And this was a popular song during the French Revolution. Funnily enough, it was somewhat inspired by Benjamin Franklin from his time in France as a Continental Congress representative, or at least the title. Apparently, the French would ask him how the American Revolution was going, and he'd respond in very broken French, as I'm doing now, "Ça ira, ça ira." These R's are gonna kill me, dude. It'll be fine, no pasa nada, me unti. But never mind all that boring history stuff, because Gojira, on the side of a castle, pyro everywhere, metal as fuck. And performing alongside them was Marina Viotti, a highly awarded opera singer providing her haunting vocals. She actually used to be the vocalist for a French metal band called Soulmaker, doing the screamy vocals and everything. So yeah, the entire thing was metal fuck. It was one of the most metal things I've ever seen. And I don't know whether the 666,666% of viewers who are not subscribed is one of the most or least metal things I've ever seen. But either way, here's your quick reminder. If you're enjoying the content, hit subscribe if you haven't already. We just hit 200,000 subscribers, which is insane. Thank you guys so much. 250K this year, maybe? Let's see if we can do it. But yeah, so it makes sense because the games are in Paris and Gojira are a big, influential French band. I can't even think of another big French band, even in the wider scope of rock, as big as Gojira. In fairness, maybe that's because, like a complete psychopath, 90% of what I listen to is just metal, so I have no context for anything else. But even so, Gojira is definitely not the most accessible of metal bands to open a globally celebrated mainstream event. Even mainstream outlets like the New York Times were writing about metal in a positive context. That's amazing for metal, man. Dude, the French are so dramatic. They know how to get people talking. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again because it's so fucking good. And something else that got people talking, specifically in the guitar world, is that Gojira were debuting some new instruments. They're generally known for playing things under the Fender family brands, but winds might be a-changin'. Took a quick water break and spilled it all over myself. We move. Christian Andrew is on Jackson's roster. He's got a couple of current signatures, but he was playing what looks suspiciously like a new version of his Pro Series model. Still has the reversed headstock, but instead of in natural, this one's in black with a white outer body stripe. Inversed inlays and a spoke wheel truss rod adjustment this time. Jean-Michel Lebedi, who's been playing Fender basses for years, was rocking a Sandberg. I'm not that familiar with Sandberg, or with basses, but I know that they're not a Fender brand, and the combination of Silverburst with those two big-ass bass humbuckers is sick. So bass players, what's up with Sandberg? Please educate me in the comments. The biggest talking point though, what is Joe Duplantier playing? Because while he's been a huge Charvel Tele ambassador for over a decade, and it's hard to imagine him with anything else, at probably Gojira's most important performance, that is not one of his signature Charvels. That's not even a Charvel. Single pickup ever-tuned offset with just a single volume knob? Dude knows what's up. Metal offsets are sick, no doubt. Definitely partial to that. But it's definitely not something we're used to seeing Gojira Joe play, so what's going on here? Now, right after the performance, we got our first clue. ESP posted a story of the guitar on their Instagram, and my initial guess was that this was a modified LTD XJ1, since that's the only XJ shape across the entire ESP family that's in production right now. They just brought it back. It was entirely gone from the ESP lineup for about 10 years. And from the picture they posted in the story, you can also see previous bridge routes under the Evertune, meaning it's been modded. So my thinking was that if this was a custom build, why wouldn't it have just been Evertune stock? And still don't have an answer to that, but I was wrong, because since then, there have been a lot more posts showing that this is indeed an ESP, not an LTD. And on the topic of Evertune, how much did they pay the cameraman for this? Because from their perspective, you could not get a better shot in front of that many people. And a post on Gojira's Instagram refers to this as a blade, which suggests that this large chromed out body might have been a nod to a guillotine blade, another reference to Marie Antoinette and French Revolutionary history. Interestingly enough, the guillotine was originally invented to be a very quick and therefore humane execution method. The French being French though, it became a primary symbol of the Reign of Terror for the violent, dramatic spectacle. It got people talking, right? Like you've got this giant blade slamming down, lopping a head off into a basket, horrifying, bloody, super fucking metal. Either way, it's still unclear as to whether or not this is a one-off, or if one of Charvel's arguably biggest artists is switching allegiances, but since the Olympic ceremony, there have been a suspicious number of teases about ESP, and no direct denials. This also isn't his first non-Charvel experiment recently. During the chant, he's been using a triple humbucker Gibson SG live. I think if he was moving to Gibson, he would have probably used that for the fucking Olympics. So my best guess is that either he's making the full switch to ESP and they're just waiting for the right time to announce it, or because it's just so hard to see him not playing Charvel at all, ESP is going to try and pull what Gibson did to them with Kirk Hammett, and Joe Duplantier will be the first Charvel and ESP dual signature artist. Right, like he'll have his signature Teles or Style 2s on the Charvel side, and then offsets on the ESP side. If they're different enough like that, it could work. If he does go straight ESP though, how soon will it be before we see a TE signature as well? And will there be significant changes from the current Charvels? Or will it be more of a Dave Mustaine situation? Same guitar, different name on the headstock. Either way, there's so much hype around this right now, I have no doubt we'll hear something from ESP on this soon. But yeah, that's quite enough ramble from me. Here's where I'll throw it to you. What do you think is going on in this Gojira, Fender, Charvel, Sandberg situation? This love rectangle? You think Fender's full grip on Gojira is finally broken? You think that these were just one-offs to fit the vibe of the performance? You just want to talk about how epically metal Gojira perched on a national monument with flames everywhere was? Any adult thoughts? I can't wait to read them down below. And, well, the update I'm sure that a lot of you have seen by now. Just as we were finishing up this video, guess who decided to unveil Joe Duplantier as the latest addition to their already stacked roster of rock and metal legends? ESP have officially announced that Joe Duplantier has joined their artist roster, and I've since confirmed with ESP that it's an exclusive arrangement. So yeah, Charvel and Gojira are over, and that's still really weird to think about. I mean, ESP guitars are amazing, and it's really awesome for Joe. Like, how cool is it to be on the same roster as Metallica? Even so, might need a little time to get used to this brave new world. There's been no word on any future inevitable signature models. So far, they're only showing off the one custom chromed out ESP XJ, which, like, what a solid reveal tease for Joe joining ESP. Only got shown to a global televised audience of 1 billion people for the fucking Olympics. Maybe they'll make an LTD production version now that it's an iconic guitar in its own right. And since he's no longer with Charvels, smart money's on a Duplantier TE at some point. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but let me know what you're thinking of this whole situation in the comments. Samueltal asks, thoughts on these new LTD 200DX guitars? Dude, I don't know if it's all the entry-level guitars bought over lockdowns now flooding back onto the used market once people realize, hey, guitar is kind of hard and I can actually go outside now, or it's that import factories have gotten that much better, but big brands are upping their affordable guitar game big time. Even just aesthetically, these LTD 200DXs look fantastic. So we've got 3 shapes in this new series. The EC comes in Blue Burst and in Charcoal Burst, and then the M and TE both come in Purple Burst and in Blue Burst. Poplar bodies with modern ergonomic cutaways for comfort, flame maple tops on the ECs, poplar burl tops on the other 2, but the depth and vibrance of these tops, these do not look like budget guitar tops. Holy shit. And I reached out to Blue Wilding at ESP to confirm. God, that guy has such a cool name, but they are actually tops, although he wasn't sure of the actual thickness. Either way, they look damn good, especially the EC in Blue Burst and the TE in Purple. God damn. And by the way, I'll have Sweetwater and Toman links to everything we're talking about in the description, so you can go check them out if you want more info or if you want to pick up something for yourself. You can also bookmark my affiliate links for later whenever you need new picks, strings, whatever, an oboe, why not? Doesn't cost you anything. I get a little bit to reinvest back into the channel and make the content even better. Behind the scenes, I've been completely tearing down and rebuilding the entire production workflow here to improve the quality and consistency of the content, and also to make sure I don't get super fucking burnt out. It's been a really intensive process, and everything really helps out, so really appreciate you if you decide to bookmark those links. But back to the specs of these affordable guitars, the most important part, bolt-on roasted maple necks. This is so good. For one, and we've talked about this quite a bit, but again, we're seeing this trend of these formerly exclusive custom shop only features now made much more accessible at these price points to many more players. Roasted maple necks used to only be on multi-$1,000 custom shop guitars, and now they're on affordable imports. Just last month, PRS dropped the sub $1,000 SE CE24 with a carved sandblasted ash top. Not even just a flat top, but an ash blasted shallow violin carve. That's nuts. Things like that really show how far we've come. And 2, the roasted maple neck is such an important feature on budget guitars. It doesn't take a lot to confuse or to frustrate players who are near the beginning of their guitar playing journey and still learning about the instrument, right? Like, remember when you were first starting to learn guitar and, I don't know, like the output jack washer becomes loose. The washer falls off, the output jack is jiggling around, and you're like, well, I guess it's broken. Guess I can't play. And especially if the guitar keeps going out of tune or summer becomes winter and all of a sudden it's so much harder to play because the action is super high. You know, all the stupid things that shitty budget guitars tend to do. But by roasting the maple, by baking the moisture out of it, you make the neck more resistant to temperature and humidity changes. You make the guitar much more stable, much more reliable. It doesn't take as much to maintain it, and you make it easier for players near the beginning of their guitar playing journey to stick with the instrument. It's funny because beginners won't realize it now, but roasted maple on budget guitars is huge for new player retention. And if you're into modding guitars, sometimes with reckless abandon like I am, this gives us some really awesome affordable mod platforms. So that's very cool on the 200DX. Then the thin U neck shapes, my personal favorite and a big reason why I love ESP so much. Same ergonomic bolt-on joint as the higher end models like Josh Middleton's signatures. Bolt-on single cut with a modern neck carve is actually not a very common combo. Usually, if it is bolt-on, it's got a big traditional block. So it's pretty cool that LTD have adopted their modern solution to work with the single cut body. Rosewood fingerboard, again, love to see that on budget guitars as opposed to Pal Faro, even though I don't actually mind the feel of Pal Faro too much. Dude, sometimes that light color, it can look so cheap compared to rosewood. Those big extra jumbo ESP frets as well. For electronics, ESP's LH150 pickups, which do the job, I guess. They make pickup sounds. There's no guilt in replacing them, basically. Although, allegedly, Max Cavalera likes them so much he's put them in his custom shop ESPs. I would not, but also he's touring the world and I'm making videos in the spare room, so what do I know? We move. But so let's go back to the roasted maple necks on these $400 guitars, because it's the biggest talking point. It is important, but it's not actually totally new, by the way. Harley Benton's been doing this a while, and it's one of the big reasons I said yes to a signature guitar with them. Accessibility was one of the key priorities when it came to the design process. They were able to do stainless steel frets and a super stable roasted flame maple neck, at that time for an accessible 500 euros. Like, that level of reliability and stability at that price, just nuts. And I thought that was really cool we were able to do that at that price for you guys. Also, by the way, thank you very much for your patience. You should be hearing more about V2 very, very soon. The thing about Harley Benton, though, is since they're Thomann's house brands, they're only sold at Thomann and shipped from Germany, or sold at their very unofficial looking US Reverb store. So affordable roasted maple guitars from a major brand and trendsetter like LTD, with global distribution and with physical presence in local guitar shops all over the world, is a completely different proposition to an online-only brand. Squier was really clever, and I'm pretty sure they were the first major brand that did this a couple of years back on their Contemporary series guitars, currently around $400, about the same as these new LTDs. God, the Contemporary Stratocaster Special in Skyburst Metallic and in black with those big CBS headstocks, still some of the coolest Squiers ever. Also, the Contemporary Jazzmaster in Shoreline Gold, modernized 50s gaudiness, fuck yeah. And for some reason, barely anyone noticed it at launch last year, and then it kind of got buried in their endless lineup of Super Strats. But Jackson actually has an even more affordable, caramelized maple Dinky JS24 at $329. Last year as well, Ibanez got into the budget roasted maple space with their Geos. Some of the colors are actually really cool, like the GRG whatever the fuck in blue metal chameleon, so it's metallic purple in some lights, blue metallic in others, matching headstock too, and again, that finish used to be only on their super premium level models. Now you can get it with a roasted maple neck for $299. So my point is that roasted maple necks on super affordable guitars isn't totally new, even for major brands, but this is what I mean when I say ESP is arguably the most important trendsetter for modern mainstream guitars. LTD were kind of late to the party on affordable roasted maple neck guitars, but there's been a lot of hype around these. It's like when they do something, people pay attention, and large-scale adoption by other major players tends to follow. And because of how critical reliability upgrades like roasted maple necks are for new player retention, I'm all for it. In fairness, maybe that's because the LTDs look the coolest, like they're the only ones with the single cut. LTD, let's talk. Funnily enough, a long while back, before the world got shut down, because accessibility was one of the top priorities in the design process, Harley Benton and I had been in very general initial discussions about making an even more affordable and accessible version of my signature model by doing a bolt-on version. And I shit you not, the colors I'd even floated were blue and purple blackburst. Then the world got shut down and the dream died. And now LTD have done it, so yeah, I'm not gonna lie, conceptually and aesthetically, I think these look pretty damn cool, but what the fuck, ESP, get out of my head. So yeah, those are just my thoughts. Here's where I'll throw it to you. What do you think of the new LTD 200DX series? Which one is your favorite? Do you want to see one on the channel, demo, or should we just mod the fuck out of it? Are you as stoked for roasted maple on budget guitars as I am? Do you think it's overhyped? When the fuck is Mick Thompson's signature guitar dropping? Any and all thoughts, let me know down below. And so just to take you behind the scenes for a second, we do put a lot of work into creating these videos, making sure that the information is accurate. Jordan, Mike, John, the whole editing team puts so much effort into making sure there's visual context for all the nerdy details that we get into. It's super, super time intensive, but it's worth it. We take pride in creating the best content as possible for you guys, and we know you guys appreciate that too. So with that said, it's time to hear from yet another adoring fan. It's the high praise of the week. Mental retardation at its finest. At its finest. As I said, we strive for excellence. That's high praise. And if you missed last episode, we talked about Jackson's new big dumb chug machines. I love the concept of these so much, and it's what I've been hoping to see from Jackson for years. Classic, iconic, unmistakably Jackson shapes like the Warrior and the Kelly, now in their peak chug-oriented forms with 27-inch baritone scale lengths, lumen lays, stainless steel frets. There's a single cut too, so fucking sick. Jackson are all of a sudden one of the most interesting modern focus brands to cover, and they are absolutely killing it this year. Since that episode, there was also a demo of PRS's latest SE release, the CE24 Swamp Ash Sandblasted Limited Edition. PRS is also killing it with their SE line, and while they may still have the upper hand in cheese and in bread terms, I'm pleased to announce the United States has now achieved sandblasted parity with Europe. Take that. Really fun guitar and such a cool vibe with these ash blasted tops that even recently were just impossible at affordable price points. And we also did a very special unboxing together of a 1984 Tokai Stratocaster. I mean, Gold Star sound. And personally, this was really special because it was my uncle's main electric for years. He'd originally bought it because at that period in his life, he only had about $100 to spend on a guitar, and this fit the bill. And at the time, he had no idea that Tokai is actually one of the most highly regarded names in the loosely defined Japanese lawsuit guitar umbrella. Japanese craftsmanship and consistency is just unreal when it comes to guitars. First time checking out a Tokai on the channel, and we got super nerdy into the history of the brand. Loved making that video. Definitely recommend a watch, and I'll have links to all those in the cards and in the description so you can check them out. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Ask a Fish. Don't forget to join our Discord server if you have a question for a future episode. Huge thanks to all my amazing Patreon supporters who make each and every video possible. Their names are up on the screen right now. You can become a patron yourself to add your name as well as get bonus extras. You can also join as a channel member or pick up some comfy ass merch. Every bit helps grow the channel. Social media, Discord server, and links to all the gear we talked about are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.